Your Excellency Dr. Sarah Taylor, representatives from Embassy of Canada in Bangkok and Mahidol University. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to welcome you to this special event. The past couple of years have been difficult for all of us and have shown the importance of working together across disciplines, organizations, and nations. Despite restrictions on international travel, as well as on some events on our campuses, we have managed to adapt to this new normal and continue to provide and perform education, research, and services to support Thai and global societies. Today, we are privileged to have Her Excellency Dr. Sarah Taylor, Canadian Ambassador to Thailand, with us to discuss how we can strengthen collaborations and partnership between our countries despite this difficulty and the circumstance, and to update our students on how they can continue to pursue their plans for student mobility or postgraduate studies in Canada after travel becomes easier. Before we begin, I would like to take this opportunity to thank Her Excellency Dr. Sarah Taylor for taking the time to talk with us today, as well as the staff from the Canadian Embassy for their work in organizing this event. Finally, I would like to thank the Mahidol University staff and students who are watching this virtual event now or in the future for their interest in becoming global citizens through collaborations and exchange with Canada and strengthening the bonds of friendship between our countries. May I now give the floor to Her Excellency to share with us information on the academic collaborations and scholarship opportunity. Her Excellency, please.
Thank you very much, Kun Polton, for that kind welcome and introduction. Good morning to everyone, to the senior staff of Mahidol University, deans and directors, and also to any students who are joining us today. So thank you very much for inviting me. Sawadee ka. Good morning, bonjour tout le monde. Again, thank you very much for inviting me to take part in this virtual internationalization update series. I'm really delighted to meet with you all today, even if it's virtually, not in person, to highlight Canadian post-secondary education. I'd also like to update you on Canada's international education strategy and discuss a bit how we can work together to promote student mobility between Mahidol and Canadian educational institutions. And I should mention just before I start that it's particularly timely because this year we happen to be celebrating the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Canada and Thailand. So the rather nice backdrop that you can see behind me, which features an iconic Canadian building, the Peace Tower from our Parliament, and also you'll see an iconic skyline of Bangkok and the famous Watts of Bangkok. This is something we put in place especially to commemorate that 60th anniversary. So let me start today, first of all, by just saying how pleased I was to learn about the many leading institutions from Canada across the country, east to west, that have already established partnerships with Mahidol University. So that's very good to know. That's a great starting point. And given that, it won't come as any surprise to you when I say that Canada is well known for its outstanding quality of education. We're a world leader in post-secondary research. We outpace most G7 countries on overall investment in research and development. And we also in Canada spend more per post-secondary student than almost all OECD countries. In addition to that, costs of living in Canada are competitive when compared to other top-ranking destinations for studying abroad. But we know the true value of a degree is not just the financial commitment made to get the degree. It's how useful the qualifications are to students after they complete the degree and transition into the job market. And Canadian educational institutions excel at providing a competency-based teaching approach. that prepares students to be productive in the workplace immediately after graduation. And just one study to cite, QS Graduate Employability in 2020 ranked 4 Canadian institutions in the global top 100 for successful employment of university graduates. Most Canadian universities and colleges are publicly funded. They're highly accountable for quality assurance in teaching, research, and their facilities, with a strong focus on incorporating new technology and research into their daily work. Canada's universities connect government, institutions, and companies to stimulate innovation. In addition, as many of you know, Canada also defines itself through its multiculturalism, welcoming a diversity of languages, cultures, and experiences. These characteristics are partly what has made the fabric of Canadian society so rich, so friendly, and so complex, and they contribute to our quality of life, the highest in the world by some measures, and especially to our welcoming environment for foreign students. So all of these things that I've described make it very easy to encourage students and researchers in other countries, including in Canada, including in Thailand, to consider Canada. Also, I'd like to add that it's also an area that I personally feel quite passionate about, because I myself am a product of international experience studying abroad. So my exposure to Asia began many years ago as an exchange student in China, Korea, and Japan, and also through fieldwork that I carried out here in Thailand. And those experiences were not just academically enriching for me, they also changed me as a person and set me on the path to a career spent working mainly in Asia. So I want other young people, both Thais and Canadians, to be able to have that same kind of life-changing experience. So how do we get there, especially faced with the many roadblocks to international education that the COVID pandemic has thrown up? Today, I'd like to talk about some of our policies and programs which will encourage more such exchanges, including Canada's International Education Strategy, the Canada-ASEAN SEED program, and some upcoming opportunities for increasing mobility in a post-pandemic world. So first, just a few words about Canada's international education strategy. In 2019, the Minister of International Trade Diversification launched Canada's new international education strategy and emphasized that international education is an essential pillar of Canada's long-term competitiveness. Canadians who study abroad gain exposure to new culture and ideas, stimulating innovation and developing important cross-cultural competencies. He added that students from abroad who study in Canada bring these same benefits to our shores. If they choose to immigrate to Canada, they contribute to Canada's economic success. Those who choose to return to their countries become lifelong ambassadors for Canada and for Canadian values. In other words, student mobility sparks new ideas and increases innovation capacity of both Canada and the country of origin of international students. With that in mind, the International Education Strategy was launched with a budget of $148 million over 5 years, to be followed by $8 million per year of ongoing funding. Canada's new strategy has 3 key objectives. 1, to encourage Canadian students to gain new skills through study and work abroad in key global markets, including in Asia. 2, to diversify the countries of origin of international students who come to Canada, as well as their fields, their levels of study, and their location of study within Canada. And 3, to increase support to Canadian educational institutions to help them increase their export services and explore new opportunities abroad. I'm delighted to share with you that Thailand was one of the priority countries announced as part of this strategy. And we're looking forward to working with Thai stakeholders, including Mahidol University, to increase student and professional mobility, to ensure that Canada remains among the world's top destinations for international study and research. So I'd mentioned the Canadian International Education Strategy, and then one of the other topics I wanted to mention briefly was the so-called SEED program. So that is the Canada-ASEAN Scholarships and Educational Exchanges for Development, hence SEED for short program, which was launched in 2018. These scholarships provide students from member states of ASEAN with short-term exchange opportunities for study and research in Canadian post-secondary institutions at college, undergraduate, and graduate levels. And as of this academic year, as of 2021 academic year, SEED also includes a mid-career component with the aim of allowing mid-career professionals to undertake short-term training in Canada, rather. This is a 5-year, $10 million project. It responds to ASEAN's needs and also draws on Canada's strengths in higher education. Its main aim is to provide students and mid-career professionals from all 10 ASEAN member states with an opportunity to apply for short-term studies or research in Canada in a field that contributes to ASEAN's efforts to narrow the development gap and reduce poverty in the region. And for Canada, the program highlights both our commitment to promoting international educational exchanges and our desire to strengthen our longstanding partnership with ASEAN and its member states. And you'll be pleased to hear that to date, 8 students from Mahidol University have already been selected for SEED scholarships. So I'd like to congratulate all the successful candidates from Mahidol and to thank the university for promoting this initiative since its start. More generally, if we look at the statistics for the SEED scholarship program since its launch in 2018, you can see how it's grown successfully, but also the unfortunate impact of the COVID pandemic. So in its first year, the 2018-19 academic year, we had 76 students from 6 ASEAN countries who went to study in 24 post-secondary institutions in Canada. And out of that 76, 18 were from Thailand. Then the next academic year, 1920, the number of students grew to 138, this time from 7 ASEAN countries, and the number of host institutions in Canada grew to 32. And that year, 24 out of the 138 were students from Thailand, including 2 students from Mahidol University. Now, of course, the 2020-21 academic year was a challenging year for all of us. Once again, 138 students were initially selected, including 32 from Thailand, 2 of them Mahidol students. But due to the COVID-19 pandemic, several Canadian institutions decided to postpone their in-person international exchange programs, and also a number of students decided themselves to withdraw from the process. So in the end, for that academic year, we had just 62 students from 7 ASEAN countries, including 10 from Thailand, who undertook a combination of online and in-person studies in Canada in January of this year. So I want to just congratulate all those who took part, especially given the difficult circumstances. Unfortunately, the mid-career professional component, which was due to launch in the 2020-2021 year, like many other projects, had to be canceled because of the ongoing closures of educational institutions and borders. Now, for the current year, we have 118 students selected, 33 of them from Thailand, and very good news, 4 of them are undergraduate students from Mahidol University's International College. So looking forward to seeing them have an opportunity as Canadian universities start to return to in-person education to take advantage of the SEED scholarships. Now, next academic year, 2022 to 2023, will be the last year of the SEED program in its current form. But this means we still have that one more academic year to welcome ASEAN students to Canada through SEED scholarships. And I hope to see more students from Mahidol University amongst them. And that's, of course, without mentioning the many other general scholarships that Canada has particularly for graduate studies for international students. So having highlighted those 2 major programs on the Canadian side, just wanted to talk briefly about what else we can do to increase mobility of students and scholars, including between Mahidol University and Canadian institutions, as we work to get out of the pandemic and adjust to the post-pandemic world. Of course, the first step of this is for increased student mobility, is for travel to become possible again. And in relation to that, I'm very pleased to say that the Government of Canada has loosened somewhat its travel restrictions recently. So this means that international students who are eligible to study in Canada and to travel to Canada may do so now. They're allowed to go to Canada either to begin a study program or to continue a program that they had already started, as long as they meet certain conditions, the most important of which is being fully vaccinated with Government of Canada approved vaccines. But many students in Thailand have been able to take advantage of this opportunity. Our embassy's visa section has been hard at work issuing study permits. They've issued almost 950 so far this year. And so 2021, despite COVID, is actually on track to be a record year for us for study permits from Thailand. So very pleased to hear that. The other good news is that as of September 7th, fully vaccinated foreign nationals are now eligible to travel to Canada for non-essential purposes. So those would include research, training, and conferences. Again, to note, fully vaccinated means with vaccines recognized by Canadian authorities, and of course you have to meet other entry requirements, but the bottom line is that it is once again possible to travel to Canada for academic exchanges. Now, here in Canada, as in Thailand, we know the situation continues to evolve, and so Government of Canada eligibility requirements may change. So just want to encourage anybody who's considering travel to Canada, make sure you have the most up-to-date information, and you can get those. We have a special COVID-19 information page on the Government of Canada website under the section on travel. So I would just encourage anybody who's planning to travel to Canada to keep consulting that to get the most up-to-date news. So travel is becoming possible again, and that's just in time to take advantage of another great opportunity to foster greater mobility and partnership between Mahidol University and Canadian institutions. And that's the next Asia Pacific Association for International Education Conference, or API as it's known for short. So API 2020 was postponed due to the pandemic, and it's now scheduled to take place in Vancouver, British Columbia, in March of 2022. The conference will bring together thousands of professionals from the Asia Pacific region to meet with potential business partners and learn about new developments in international education. This presents a great opportunity for Canadian institutions and Mahidol University to strengthen existing partnerships and to explore potential new collaboration. So I would really encourage you to work with the Trade Commissioner responsible for the international education sector here at the embassy. That's Kun Pan, who will help connect you with Canadian counterparts before the conference so that you can make the most of this opportunity. And finally, I was excited to learn that API 2023 will be held here in Bangkok. And in fact, Mahidol University will be the host. So please rest assured that the embassy will work with you to support preparations for API 2023, and especially we will do our utmost to encourage Canadian institutions to participate. And hopefully by 2023, travel will have become somewhat easier, and so there will be a lot of in-person representation. So I look forward to seeing new and expanded partnership agreements, both during API 2022 in Vancouver and API 2023 in Bangkok. Let me close once again in thanking you for inviting me to join you today for the virtual internationalization update series. I'm really pleased we had this opportunity to get to know each other a little better and to discuss new partnership opportunities. Again, my apologies for some of the IT difficulties, but glad that we were able to connect nonetheless. And I would, of course, be happy to answer any questions you have at this time. So thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Khop khun makนะคะ.
Thank you so much, the embassy. May I request Dean from the Mahidol University International College? She has some question to ask. Professor Chuntida, please.
Good morning, Your Excellency, Dr. Sarah Taylor. First of all, I would like to thank you very much and thank you, the Government of Canada, for issuing the seat scholarships for our students. So Mahidol University International College students have received a total of 5 scholarships this year, 1 declined, but they are going to Laval University, University of Saskatchewan, and University of Victoria. So these kinds of global opportunities are an integral part of our students' experience. So once again, I would like to thank you. It adds to our students' ability to understand the world and to perceive it and make independent judgment of it. My second comment would be that in order to help celebrate the 60th anniversary of the diplomatic ties between Canada and Thailand, if there is any activities or any assistance that you may need from students or from faculty members or from myself, we would be delighted to assist you. And by the way, actually, a couple of my personal students, I'm a teacher, I'm an instructor in biomedical science. I'm a pediatrician and a physician. Two of my students are actually in Canada right now doing their exchange, and they're having a great time. So thank you.
Well, that's great to hear. I'm very pleased that to hear that Mahidol students are continuing to take up the seed scholarships, and are those who are there are enjoying their time in Canada. So that's excellent. One thing just that you reminded me in mentioning the range of universities that people are attending. One additional attraction that Canada has as a location for higher education is, of course, that we're a bilingual country, and so we offer opportunities in both English and French. And thank you very much for the offer to help participate and support 60th anniversary. Obviously, we've had, because of the current COVID situation, to change and adjust some of our plans. But one of the big events that we are doing right now virtually is a photo exhibit. So I'll be happy to share with you the online link for it. It's a really very nice photo exhibit of landscape photos of Thailand and Canada, contrasting and comparing them and inviting the viewer to picture themselves in those landscapes. So right now it's virtual only, but again, we can share the link with you. And we hope next year, probably in April, so around Songkran, that we will actually have an in-person live exhibit of the photos here in Bangkok. So at that time, we'd really like to be able to welcome students and faculty from Mahidol University to join in attending that. And we may well have some other activities as well. Again, we're just in the process of considering a little bit what they will be. November is the anniversary, the month in which the anniversary falls, and we're looking forward to see what the situation will be in November, and then based on that, we'll be able to share with you what activities we'll be doing at that time. But yeah, very much welcome participation from students and staff. Thank you.
One more question from Faculty of Engineering to Her Excellency. May I call upon Professor Chakrit Suthakorn, please?
Good morning. Hi, this is Chakrit Suthakorn. I'm the Dean of Engineering. So thank you for the information that you have given to us. I'd just like to also update that our Faculty of Engineering, we have been working closely with a couple of universities in Canada, especially for the Queen's University. So we have been working very closely about surgical navigation and also medical computing with a few professors there, which we have the student exchanging program together and also support our students to study there also. So this is one place that we have been working together very closely. And the other school that we work together is McGill University, which is currently I have my student actually study PhD there. And we have the collaboration in terms of the research together and also publication together. And myself, actually, I visit Montreal a few years ago before the COVID time, and I really pleased and really enjoy. So I hope that we can strengthen the collaboration and also expand this collaboration between the Canada and Mahidol University. Furthermore, thank you.
Thank you very much, and that's very good to hear about those connections with Queen's and McGill, both very fine Canadian universities, and yet with very strong traditions in engineering and in medicine. And I think interesting that you mentioned those fields, because clearly one of the priority areas in terms of trying to build back better, as they say, after as we try and come out of the pandemic, will be in medical science and health sciences more generally. So I think there are lots of opportunities for collaboration and shared innovation there between Canada and Thailand. So really looking forward to there being more opportunities there for exchanges. One thing Canada and Thailand share in common, I know we may seem like very different places sometimes, but one thing we share in common is an aging population. And so I think in both countries, there's a shared interest, amongst other things, in health and wellness for older adults, and how you manage the pressures, including on the health system of an aging population. So really interesting areas for exchange, and where indeed there's lots of scope, I think, in the engineering and medical fields for innovations that help older adults remain independent and healthy. So really hope to see more of that. And I would welcome also any opportunities to, if you would like, for myself or others from the embassy ever to interact with your students and meet students who have questions or interested in study in Canada. Then we're always happy to talk to students and tell them more about their experience in Canada.
Thank you so much, Her Excellencies. Before we close this event, may I hand over the microphone to my Vice President, Professor Noprenu.
Excellency, thank you so much for your time today. And for my record, we have got a lot more interaction and collaboration under the belt between Canadian universities and Mahidol University Faculty of Environment and Resource Studies, the MUSAIS International College, Faculty of Veterinary Science, Faculty of Nursing, Faculty of Medicine, both of them. I think they're pretty much interested in the exchange. And thank you so much for coming and joining us in the Internationalization lecture series. We are going to broadcast this series to our students to distribute the information of Canadian universities to all of our students. And for the Ep.5 2023, thank you so much the Canadian government and also Simon Fraser for supporting Mahidol University to be the host in the 2023 Ep.5 host. We hope that we can make a trip to Vancouver next year to meet up with you with your colleagues in person in Simon Fraser in Vancouver in 2022. Hopefully we can bring our team to get the flag of Ep.5 back to Bangkok in 2023. Thank you so much, Your Excellency.